Imagine waking up one morning and the sky looks a little strange. The air smells a bit different. The ground beneath your feet trembles. Just a little, but not enough to scare you. You have bread to buy. You have work to do. You have a life to live. So you shake it off and step outside into the busy streets of your city. You have no idea that in just a few hours, everything you know, every street, every face, every laugh, every argument, will be buried forever. This is the story of Pompeii, not the story of its destruction. The story of its last morning, on August 24th, in the year 79 AD. Around 20,000 people woke up in the city of Pompeii. It was a Tuesday. The sun came up just like it always did. The birds were singing. The city was already alive before most people even opened their eyes. Bakers had been working since before dawn, sliding round loaves of bread into stone ovens that had been burning all night. The smell of fresh bread drifted through the narrow streets like a warm invitation. Pompeii was a busy, beautiful, complicated city, and on this particular morning, it was doing exactly what it always did. It was living. Walk through the streets of Pompeii that morning, and you would be amazed at how modern it all feels. The roads are paved with large flat stones, worn smooth from years of feet and cartwheels. On the walls of buildings there is graffiti. Yes, graffiti, just like today, where people have scratched their thoughts, their insults, their love confessions, and their jokes into the plaster. One piece of graffiti reads something like, "Samius to Cornelius, go hang yourself." Another announces the results of a local election. People had opinions. People had feelings. People expressed them on walls. Nothing much has changed. At the food counters along the street, called thermopolia, which were basically ancient fast food stalls, men and women lean in to buy hot food on their way to work. The counters have deep round holes cut into them, where clay pots full of warm stew or soup sit, keeping the food hot. You could grab a bowl of food and eat it standing right there, just like grabbing a meal at a street stall today. There were no fancy dining rooms for most people. Life happened in public. Life happened on the street, down at the gladiatorial barracks. The day starts with a different kind of energy. The gladiators are already training in the courtyard. The sound of wooden practice swords hitting shields filling the air. These men were celebrities in Pompeii. People wrote their names on walls with love and admiration. Girls whispered about them. Young men wanted to be them. And here they are, in the early hours of this last morning, doing what they always do, preparing for a fight they do not know will never come. In the wealthy homes of Pompeii, long, elegant houses built around open courtyards with fountains and gardens. The rich are beginning their day more slowly. Servants move quietly through cool stone corridors, bringing trays of food, filling oil lamps, opening shutters to let in the morning air. The walls of these homes are painted with vivid scenes, gardens full of birds, mythological stories, portraits of gods and goddesses. These people have everything. They are comfortable, surrounded by beauty, completely unaware that their beautiful homes will soon become their tombs. Down at the harbor, the morning is loudest of all. Ships are being unloaded. Merchants are arguing over prices. Sailors are shouting instructions. Ropes are being tied and untied, and goods from across the entire Roman Empire are making their way through Pompeii. Wine, olive oil, fish sauce, fabrics, pottery, spices. Pompeii was a trading city full of energy and commerce. The harbor that morning would have been one of the most alive places in the entire Roman world. But something was not quite right. Something had been not quite right for several days, actually, though most people had pushed the thought aside. The ground had been shaking. Small tremors, nothing serious. They were used to it. This part of Italy had always been like that. And Mount Vesuvius, the great mountain that loomed over the city like a silent guardian, had always been there. It was beautiful, really. Green and covered in vineyards all the way up its slopes. Nobody was afraid of it. Why would they be? It had never done anything. What they did not know, what no one in the ancient world knew, was that Vesuvius was not just a mountain, it was a volcano. And for hundreds of years, it had been quietly gathering its power, building pressure deep underground, waiting. The small earthquakes of the past few days were not random tremors. They were warnings. The mountain was waking up. Around midday on August 24th, the sky above Vesuvius suddenly split open. A massive column of ash, rock, and gas shot straight up into the air, higher than anyone had ever seen anything reach. A tower of destruction that blocked out the sun and turned the day into a strange, terrifying darkness. People stopped in the streets and stared. Some ran. Some fell to their knees in prayer, convinced the gods were angry. Some, in a very human response to something too big to understand, simply stood and watched. The ash began to fall like gray snow, covering the streets, the rooftops, the food on the counters, the bread cooling in the bakeries. And then came the pumice, small, light rocks raining down from the sky, getting thicker and heavier by the hour. People grabbed cushions and pillows to hold over their heads. Some ran toward the harbor, hoping to escape by boat. Some ran inland, away from the mountain. Some went back into their homes, thinking the walls would protect them. And some, heartbreakingly, stayed. They stayed because they thought it would pass. They stayed because they had animals they could not leave behind. They stayed because they were old, or sick, or too frightened to move. They stayed because they could not believe, could not truly believe, that this was the end. Humans are remarkable in many ways, but one of our deepest instincts is the belief that things will be okay, that tomorrow will come, that this moment, however terrible, will eventually pass. It did not pass. In the hours that followed, Vesuvius sent wave after wave of scorching hot gas and ash flowing down its slopes at terrifying speed, what scientists today call pyroclastic surges. These clouds of superheated air and ash moved faster than any human being could run. And when they reached Pompeii, the city was gone in moments, not destroyed slowly, gone, frozen, buried under meters of volcanic material, perfectly preserved in the exact position of that last ordinary morning. The bread was still in the ovens. The food was still on the counters. The graffiti was still on the walls. The gladiators were still in their barracks. The rich families were still in their beautiful painted rooms. And the people, the 20,000 people who had woken up that Tuesday morning with plans and worries and hopes and arguments, were frozen exactly as they were, some curled up together, some covering their faces, some holding each other, some alone. When archaeologists began excavating Pompeii centuries later, they discovered something extraordinary. Where the bodies had been, the volcanic ash had hardened around them and preserved the empty shapes perfectly. By pouring plaster into these shapes, they could recreate the exact position of the people in their final moments. Families, couples, a dog chained to a post, curled up in fear, a man covering his face with his cloak, a woman holding a child. These are not sculptures, these are real people, real moments, frozen in time. What makes Pompeii so powerful, so different from any other place in the world, is that it is not a ruin. Ruins are things that have fallen apart over time, weathered and worn by years and centuries. Pompeii did not fall apart. It was stopped. Mid-sentence, mid-step, mid-breath. It is a city frozen in a single moment, and that moment is the most ordinary human, recognizable kind of moment there is. Just another morning in a busy city, where people were simply trying to live their lives. The bakeries of Pompeii are still there today. You can still see the ancient ovens. You can still see the grooves in the stepping stones, where people crossed puddles in the street. You can still read the graffiti on the walls. You can still see the paintings in the grand houses, the colors still vivid after nearly 2,000 years. Pompeii does not make you feel like you are looking at ancient history. It makes you feel like you just walked in on something private, like you arrived just a moment too late, or maybe just a moment too early. And that is the most important thing this city teaches us. The people of Pompeii were not ancient in any way that truly matters. They were worried about money and love and health and reputation. They made jokes. They had favorite foods. They argued with their neighbors. They admired the gladiators and gossiped about the rich. They were people, complicated, ordinary, wonderful, flawed human beings, living their lives with the same energy and hope and frustration that we feel every single day. They did not know their last morning was their last morning. None of us ever do. And maybe that is the real lesson, buried under all that ash. Not a lesson about volcanoes or ancient history or Roman civilization, but a lesson about this moment right now. The morning you woke up today, the food you ate, the people around you, the ordinary, unremarkable Tuesday of your own life. Pompeii did not teach us that life can end suddenly. It taught us something far more beautiful than that. It taught us that ordinary life, simple, busy, human, everyday life, is worth remembering forever.